Light and time are elemental forces. They govern much of our daily lives without our notice. In cosmic forces, time and light are often intertwined and rely on one another in cycles, in seasons, and in natural processes. Light is made up of photons. Photons are particles. Pollen is also a particle. Light passes through film to make an image. Light passes through leaves to make food for plant life. Light is needed for life on this planet, but it's also very volatile. It burns as much as it nourishes. This paradox interests me. Hello, I'm Natalie Hunter, an artist and educator born and raised in Hamilton, Ontario, working across photography, installation, sculpture, and the moving image. In my work, I demonstrate a deep interest in the poetics of time, memory, temporality, chance, perception, the archive, and the senses, with a particular emphasis on embodied experience, perception, materiality, personal memory, and identity. In this talk, I reflect on the artworks, process, intent, and responsiveness of my installation, You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun at Cambridge Galleries, Queen Square, curated by Carly Boileau, and up until August 2026. I speak to you in mid-November, 3 months after the installation of You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun. The days are getting shorter, and the Earth's axis is tilting away from the sun as we mentally and physically prepare for a long, dark winter. The past 13 years, I have had a fascination for both image making and working with materials by hand, exploring shifting sensory experiences of light, color, and motion as they relate to memory and perception. I often employ and exploit the immaterial principles of photography, light, and time, with the material aspects of sculpture in my installations. I'm interested in expressing immaterial concepts and ephemeral processes in material form, while considering how the spaces in which we dwell affect our perceptions of time and place and resonate with associations of memory in the senses. My most recent installations of the past 5 years respond to architecture and make use of natural sunlight in the production and presentation of my work. Using natural sunlight as a material in my work, I consider the material effects of sunlight on the body and mind, within the spaces in which we dwell, in the natural processes of gardens and plant life, and in photography. Much of my photo-based and sculptural work explores this critical paradox. As human beings, we require sunlight to enrich our mental and physical health and overall well-being. Sunlight, however, is also a powerful destroyer of materials, our eyes and skin. The sun's light is both nourishing and volatile. Its rhythms often govern how we create spaces for ourselves in which to thrive and how we relate to natural landscapes and plant life. You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun is presented as transparent images affixed to the windows of the architecture in a site-responsive gesture. Behaving like a kind of slow-moving cinema or an interior sundial, my installations cast latent images and soft, colorful light on the surrounding architecture, across bodies and across space. Playing with the architecture, sunlight, photography, and time, my poetic intervention becomes a quiet meditation on the elemental forces of light and time. Depending on the time of day, the angle of the sun, and seasonal conditions, You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun transforms and changes. Capturing the banks of the Grand River and Cambridge Pollinator Preserve in a meditation on the cyclical synergies of nature and elemental forces of light and time that govern much of our daily lives and the principles of photography. Activating the Queen Square, south-facing windows, along with a collection of vitrines and windows scattered throughout the Queen Square building, my site-responsive work evokes sensations of memory and the passage of time. Unfolding slowly according to the rhythms of the sun, You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun becomes a kind of slow-moving cinema, casting latent, colorful images on the surrounding architecture. The Grand River is a major artery running through the greater Golden Horseshoe of Ontario, connecting many regions and industries along its banks. It is a lifeblood to Six Nations cultures, traditions, territory, and heritage. My response, and you might as well try and hold the sun, focused on the many pollinating plants that grow along the banks of the Grand River that support a thriving ecological watershed unique to the southern Ontario region. Flowing through Cambridge and downtown Galt, the river behaves like a mirror for the sky. The foliage canopy that runs along its banks acts like a filter, sheltering pollinating plants from harsh rays while illuminating the cells and leaves. Both mirrors and filters are elements of photography and tools I use both sculpturally and pictorially to study memory, landscape, and how the cultivation of gardens and our relationship with both the volatile and nourishing qualities of light enriches our lives. To make You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun, I photographed the natural vegetation that grows along the Grand River near the Cambridge Pollinator Preserve, located roughly 1 kilometer from the gallery. I walked this meandering route in high summer, when humidity and heat are at its strongest, with longer days and harsher sunlight rays. Relying on the immaterial staples of photography, light and time, and the sensibilities of sculpture and materials, I captured the subtle surfaces and nuances of growing plant life, unfolding through time using an analog camera, light, and handmade color filters. Part architecture, part sculpture, and part image, You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun alters and stretches my images across bodies, across architecture, and across space, to see how sunlight affects architecture and the body in real time. The fact that you can walk into Queen Square Gallery and feel aspects of the Grand River as light and latent images on your skin is really special. This gesture brings the Grand River closer to the body in a public, very community-oriented, collective space. Alongside the large window installation spilling into the atrium at Queen Square, a collection of sculptures occupy glass vitrines throughout the Queen Square building. At River's Edge brings the Grand River closer to the body, draping, folding, and curving over handmade birch and aluminum armatures like rippling current. At River's Edge traces the shoreline of the Grand River, where the water meets land. These undulating waves bend light, casting latent images on the surfaces of the vitrine, leaving a trace of the river on the architecture. To Bend Toward Light is an early work I began in 2022 when I was exploring the possibilities of wood bending. Wood is a rigid, natural material. Willing it to bend without breaking by softening its fibers at times can feel like trying to bend light or time, and the interior of each sculpture attempts to do just that, bend light in space by filtering light through color materials. Encased in glass, the sculptures appear to resemble seed pods or something natural and organically grown, connecting with the imagery in the window installation in the next room. Light is a wave just like water. It can be broken up into the visible light spectrum, just as river current can filter water through sediment and rocks at the bottom of the Grand River. The shape of air, the sound of light, occupies the liminal space between the staircase and the atrium. Hovering just above the river rocks and illuminated from below, the shape of air, the sound of light, gently spins with air currents in the room. Made from hand-shaped and curved wood and coated in color film, the kinetic form mimics water currents, air currents, and light traveling like a wave. Conversing with the river rocks in the atrium, it brings subtle sensations of the Grand River closer to the human body. Through these sculptures and site-responsive photo-based installations, I ultimately explore the possibilities of the sun's relationship with our human well-being and the role that sunlight plays in maintaining the ecological integrity of the Grand River watershed. On our ever-increasingly warming planet, this task of preservation can seem as elusive as trying to hold the sun, but with time we can learn to work with its rhythms. Thank you for listening to my talk. You Might As Well Try and Hold the Sun is on view at Cambridge Gallery's Queen Square between August 2025 and August 2026. I encourage you to visit the exhibition at different times during the year to experience the piece in all seasons, all light, and all weather conditions. Each time you return, your experience of the installation will change. Thank you to Carly Boileau for inviting me to respond to the site while trusting my process and vision for the work. Thank you to Matthew Teagle for your installation expertise, and to Jamie Griffiths, Ashlyn Gregory, and Cambridge Gallery staff for your kindness and support through this project. To learn more about my work, please visit natalie-hunter.com. Thank you.